Hey there. This broadcast is for anyone who's ever wanted to write a book about difficult things. I received a powerful message this morning and it was unexpected. So I am preparing today to go into the studio to do the audiobook recording of my second book, The Last Ceremony: One Woman's Journey of Creativity and Healing with Plant Medicine. And whenever I have to go into the recording studio, whether it's a podcast or audiobook recording, obviously I feel a little bit anxious. Maybe I present like someone who's always confident, but there are things that make me nervous, like spending 6 hours in a studio. So I received a message from someone uh, this morning who is preparing to come and do a writing retreat with me next week. And her story is just as difficult, if not more difficult than mine, probably more. Uh, she experienced significant trauma for most of her life. And the message said, I couldn't do this with just anyone. Having you guide me through this process is incredibly meaningful to me. I've long admired your spirit and energy and looking forward to seeing you again. So, what happens when I receive a message like that, which happens every time I'm preparing to host a writing retreat guest, is that I'm filled with this profound energy, which is that I'm about to go on a journey with someone, and we're about to take all of that power that they've been holding inside, all of that emotional power, all of that story, all of that experience, and we're about to transmute it into something incredible, beautiful, meaningful. And that requires a level of resilience and capacity that a lot of people don't have. And so the first thing I want to tell you is that if you have survived something incredibly difficult, you are a very powerful person. You may not think of it like that. I didn't think of it like that for like 50 years. I thought these things happened to me, that I was helpless, that I made mistakes, that I could have done better, that I could have done things differently. If you have survived terrible things, you are an incredibly powerful person. There's a capacity there to hold pain, to hold confusion, to hold negative emotions, to hold difficult experiences. And what the writing retreat, the writing the memoir, the writing life stories, what that writing allows us to do is to move all of that through you so it's not stuck in the body anymore. Because with no expression, it stays in this perpetual loop inside the mind and body because there's no expression. Now, therapeutically, typically, the kind of expression that is encouraged is one of tears, right? Or emoting or pounding pillows. I've done all of those things. I did all of those things. Some of them are critical to break through the resistance that is trying to protect you from feeling things that are so overwhelming. But that's not enough. Until there is a complete transmutation of this energy, until it goes all the way through, until you are no longer intimidated by your own story, until you are no longer the victim, you are now the hero of your own story. Until that happens, you can't have full wholeness. The etymology of the word healing is holos, it's wholeness. That wholeness comes from embracing all parts of self, embracing and accepting the full experience of your life. Not everybody has to embrace and accept some of the things that you have to embrace and accept. Some of the things that you have to embrace and accept are more evil, are more ugly, are more painful, are more scary than what other people have to embrace and accept. But that is why you have been given more power than others. And it's in the alchemy of that power in creating your life story. Even if you never show it to anyone, I didn't really even have intent on showing my story to very many people. But what I found in the expression of that story was gifts like the one I just shared with you, which is somebody who says, I see how you stand in your story. I also have a story. I would like to own that story. I would like to feel the empowerment, the contentment, the victory that you feel. And if I had been doing this broadcast 10 years ago, I've been writing for my whole career. I published a doctoral dissertation in 2005. I published a column for the Huffington Post. I wrote for Mind Body Green. I published an ebook in 2015. It's not like I wasn't writing, emoting, expressing, and healing. I was doing all of those things. But the things I wasn't saying, the secrets I wasn't sharing, those were the things that were holding me back. Those were the things that were preventing me from doing my best work. Those were the places that were blocking me from having the connection that I can have with someone else who can go the places that I have gone. You cannot take people to places that you have not gone. You can pretend, but you are not actually going to get people to the results that they want if it is not a path that you have traveled. I have traveled that path. I have now taken 12 people down that path. I will take 2 more people this month down that path. And we will find at the other side that they now are holding their story in an entirely new way. This is the book that I wrote last year. All This Healing Is Killing Me. The best thing about doing this, beyond the fact that it changed my career, it allows me to support other people, it gave me a bigger platform, whatever. The gift of this is that I don't have to go in my mind and my body over and over and over these things anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. I have found the lessons in my experience. I have found the wisdom in my journey. I have preserved the things that have happened. I have expressed them in a way that is authentically true to myself. I have given this to the world, and in the giving of it, other people have received it and said, thank you so much for your honesty, Gabby. Because you give people permission to be honest when you're honest. Haven't you ever had this in a conversation with somebody? You're having a conversation with somebody, and it's like you're maintaining this superficial bullshit in the conversation, but then you drop in and you say something really true. And you say, you know what? I actually feel really uncomfortable in this room right now. I actually don't really like this event or whatever. All of a sudden, the person's like, oh, thank God. Like the people in this room. Oh my God. Right? The connection in the honesty. You connect with yourself and you connect with others when you are honest. And it is very challenging to be honest about the things that we have been told need to be a secret. Mostly it's because other people are wanting us to maintain their bad behavior. Most of the people that are writing things like this are writing about other things that happened to them where other people were behaving badly. And yet we hold it so close to our heart with so much shame and so much pain as if it were something that we inflicted on ourselves. And usually it's not. Nobody that I have worked with to write memoir or life story is the perpetrator of their own story. Did they make bad choices at some point because of the things that happened? Yeah. Because dealing with those things sucks. It totally sucks. Did I drink too much alcohol? Did I smoke too many cigarettes? Did I date the wrong guys? Yeah, I did all those things. But then I pulled my shit together and I found resources and I accepted the blessings and the support around me. And I leaned into the uncomfortable. The second book that I'm going into the studio today to record is about how plant medicine helped with my journey. So on my journey, specifically in the last 5 years, I have leaned into mushrooms, all of the plants in the herbal kitchen, right? All the ginger and the turmeric, all the herbal kitchen medicines. I've leaned into ayahuasca and peyote and San Pedro and all of these medicines with sentience, these plants that have been around on the planet way longer than we have. And they are in my story, the story that I'm going into the studio to record today. And I read 3 pages of this story to my crew when we were in New Mexico. When I went on my birthday trip to Modern Elder Academy, I read 3 pages and I was weeping. And I'm actually very concerned that I am not going to be able to get through 2 hours of reading my story in the studio without weeping. I was like, do I put on mascara? Do I not put on mascara? And it's not a weeping of grief. It's not a grief weeping. It's a weeping of like, I can't believe that these teachers have come into my life, that they have impacted my life in such a positive way, that they have supported me, that they have allowed me to become a stronger, healthier person. It's like I can't even believe it. I can't even believe it. The amount of divine intervention, the amount of magic and synchronicity and serendipity and blessings that I have experienced in the last couple of years. When I wrote it down in the book and I read it back, I like, it was hard to even believe. And I was the one who had gone through the whole thing. And I was like, am I making this up? And there was people there along the way to witness, and I've given the manuscript to them, and I'm like, I'm remembering this correctly, right? And that's the layer of story that you need to get to beyond the pain. One of the things that's really easy when you start to write memoir, especially a memoir about trauma, abuse, any of these difficult topics, is that the first draft is all the terrible things. It's what mom did and what dad did and what grandma and grandpa did and what your husband did and your boyfriend. And it's okay. That's the first draft, and it needs to be the first draft. And sometimes it's the first and the second and the third draft. And then what you need to do after that draft is you need to go back and you need to ask yourself, you wouldn't be here if the universe did not provide some angels to protect you, if the universe did not provide some therapist, some teacher, some aunt, some uncle, some basketball coach, I don't know. The universe gave you some internal and external gifts or resources or guides that allowed you to still be here today. And so when you go back and you start writing the fourth draft, the fifth draft, the sixth draft, who helped you? Who helped you? Who saved you? Who brought you back to life? Who helped you get out of bed another day? Who cleaned you up? Who made you a meal? And sometimes those are human resources, and sometimes they're plants, and sometimes they're the ocean, sometimes they're a cat, sometimes they're a dog, but they were there or you wouldn't be here. They were there or you wouldn't be here. And when you go back to your story, we need to capture that as well. We need to express that as well. And when we express that, you start to see the bigger picture. You start to see the purpose. One of the things that has happened in the writing of now 2 memoirs is the larger purpose becomes so much more clear. Because how could all of these things have unfolded in the way that they did if you weren't supposed to be here at this exact moment in time doing exactly what you're doing right now? That's what's true for me. Had I not done everything up until this moment, this woman that's coming for the retreat, would I be able to do what I'm going to do for her? No. And you probably wouldn't be able to do whatever it is that you're doing. And if you want to do more, you know what you do? If you want to do more, you want to have more impact, you want to have more purposeful work, you want to have more fulfilling work, you want to have a more meaningful life, you know what you have to do? You got to go deeper. You got to go deeper. You got to get to the honesty under the honesty under the honesty. There's more layers of honesty. I guarantee, unless you have spent 16 years writing hundreds of thousands of pages, you have not gotten to the deepest layers of honesty. When you get to the deepest layers of honesty of where you need to take accountability, where you need to forgive yourself, where you need to forgive others, when you get to those deepest layers, I'm telling you, the level of freedom and satisfaction you will feel, it's uncontended. The level of spaciousness, the level of serenity, I just honestly don't think there's any other way to get there. There certainly wasn't any other way to get there for me. So I am taking all of this and I'm going into the studio today to record another book for you that you will hopefully have by the end of the year. And I hope it inspires you. Honestly, if you are someone that has ever wanted to write a book, just start. I can support you. But even if you don't work with me, just start 1 page at a time. I hope you have a beautiful Wednesday.